A table of values hangs over every people. Behold, it is the table of its overcomings. That's how Nietzsche opens the chapter of the 1001 Gods of the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. In this chapter, chapter 15, Nietzsche is talking about the idea that moral doesn't really exist and the table of values exists only under the tribe where it confronts on it. The moral is basically a subjective construct. It is only about the person that believes in that specific type of moral that this moral exists in, and it's a metaphysical idea only for this person, tribe, country, nation, agenda, ideology, however you want to call it. Hopefully this chapter will make you understand that your moral and your values and your ideologies and your subjective metaphysical morality exists only to you, your tribe, your country, your nation, your ideology, or whatever. And then you will be able to see that there is no such thing really as good or bad. And of course you will not judge other people, which will make your life much more comfortable, but at the same time you will be able to understand other people, therefore comprehend what they have to offer, therefore be able to fix their actions instead of judging them. Because if you see a drug addict and you're just judging him, you will not be able to fix his addiction. If you'll be able to understand and comprehend it and then help him out of it together with him, the odds of him fixing it is much, much, much higher. And of course, it's an extreme example, but it gives you the general idea. One neighbor never understood another. His soul was always amazed at his neighbor's madness and wickedness. For example, in ancient Egypt, there was very common tradition between the pharaohs to have sex within the family, making incense. And the reason it was so common is because they believed that they want to keep the blood pure. They don't want to mix it up with regular people. On the other hand, in the exact same lands, Judaism considered it a complete abomination and put a death sentence on anyone who would do such a thing. One neighbor sees the other and calls him a complete, wicked, crazy. And the Egyptian think that the Jewish are crazy, like, how the fuck don't you have incense? Don't you want your, let's say, Kohen, right? Which is like the purest of the families. Yeah, like the people that are closest to God in Judaism. How can a Kohen have a sex with another family which is not within his family? Because that way he will mix up with other nations, like with other regular people. His blood will not be pure. For Egyptians, it's insanity. For Judaism, they're insane. Each one don't understand the other, but neither are wrong or right. What it accounts hard, it calls praiseworthy. What it counts indispensable and hard, it calls good. Nietzsche, of course, is the great advocator for the will to power. He claims that everything we do in our life and every action that we make and every value that we construct and every subjective idea that we have towards ourselves and towards humanity as a whole is for us to get more power, for us to gain power upon another, for us to gain power in ourselves. And the Übermensch, of course, is the greatest power of them all. When it says what is considered hard is considered good, and what is considered indispensable, what is considered hard is praiseworthy, and what is considered good and hard, indispensable and hard is good, it's the will to power. When something is hard, it's immediately becoming something that is interesting. Like they say, no things in life comes in ease. So when Nietzsche says that what is hard is good, is basically telling us that the values that we are creating to ourselves, that we either praiseworthy or consider as good, are basically the thing that we cannot dispense and that are hard for us to make. So according to him, again, I don't really know how much I agree with it, because I think it's much more difficult than what is hard. I think it's much more considered with the traditional history, with the climate change in the place, with the type of land, with a lot of many more considerations than just what is hard and what is easy. But according to him, a virtue or a value is considered to the culture was considered as good, or is considered as hard. Basically, what makes them work hard to get the power is considered good or praiseworthy. Just as an interesting anecdote, Nietzsche, of course, was, well, some claim he was Polish. In his letters, he claims he's Polish, but some claims he's German. Either way, he has a very interesting prophecy. Some say rage prophecy. He wrote it in 1880, remind you, 1880 or 1890. And he wrote a prophecy about Germany. It says, to have fidelity, for the, to have fidelity, and for the sake of fidelity to risk hundred blood, even in the evil dangerous courses. Teaching itself so, another people mastered itself, and thus mastering itself became pregnant and happy with great hopes. This quote, a lot say, is a rage prophecy about Germany, because Germany became heavy with dangerous ideas and evil ways, which will, of course, soon enough will create the rise of Nazism and Hitler and anti-Semitism, which Nietzsche, well, he didn't know it exists, but he saw the rising of it in Germany, and of course he was much more against it, unlike his sister, who actually changed his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, gave it to the Nazi soldiers, especially the book on War and Warriors, the chapter on War and Warriors, as we talked about here, gave it to the Nazi soldiers as a Bible for them to fight within the army and to raise their morals. Man first implemented values into things to maintain himself. Without evaluation, the nut of existence would be hollow. These two quotes are not together, but they show a very interesting understanding about ideology and about ideas. And I think Slavoj Žižek talks about it much more interestingly and much more deep than I talk about it. But basically, human beings cannot exist without ideology. What makes a human being is the idea that he has value and ideology. Therefore, when Nietzsche talks in the beginning of the book on the death of God as a way of nihilism, he considers it as a very bad thing. He is not happy about it. It's a great loss that God is now dead and the morals and the traditional values of Christianity disappeared from the world. Some say that Viktor Frankl explained it well. I think it's just a publicity book, but of course the guy survived the Holocaust, so who am I to judge? But a person to have a sort of meaning is the only thing that makes a person a person. And the meaning does not have to be, I want to become rich, I want to be with my family more. A meaning is ideology. Ideology is in every essence of a person, because without a value, a moral, a virtue, and ideology, the person cannot exist. His existence would be hollow like a nut. Joy in the herd is older than the joy in ego. I talk about this movie a lot because I think it's a great movie, but in the end of Into the Wild, the kid wrote as well, happiness is only real when shared. The joy that we have as human beings together, as monkeys at least, walking together in a band, in a group, in a social gathering, is much older than the joy of us enjoying our own. The fact that it's older doesn't mean it's necessarily better, or at least worse, but the idea of ideology and the idea of moral and the idea of value structure is considered with the idea of us enjoying with the group. Because without ideology, without a virtue, without a set of spells that we call rules, a group of people cannot coexist. They cannot live together because they have no one way to go towards to. Well, the Übermensch is living on its own values and is living on the personal values on his own and his own morals. Even Nietzsche claims that there must be warriors. Those warriors are the fighters for those virtues that construct a social gathering. Without those virtues, without this ideology, without these values and morals, we will not only we will not be able to exist, we will not be able to coexist, and therefore we will not be able to create anything. I think you can notice this kind of feeling in your own life. If you stumble across my videos and you enjoy it, you are probably an intelligent person. As an intelligent person, you are probably sinking into the depth of your own psyche more often than most people. If you sink into the depth of your own psyche, you probably notice a lot of darkness in it, the shadow that Carl Jung used to say. If you stumbled across the shadow, which Nietzsche calls it the abyss, you probably noticed that in the abyss there is deconstructivism of any value, moral, or structure of belief. And if you confronted with that deconstructivism of those ideas, then you basically reach of what Nietzsche is considering as nihilism, and of course everybody is considering as nihilism, but what Nietzsche cried upon when he said that God is dead. I stumbled about this feeling many times, especially when I dealt with psychedelic drugs. You basically reach to an idea where not only values is deconstructive, but also humanity is deconstructive. I remember when I was sitting in my bed and I was calling myself in a third person, as in saying only Roy can save me from this experience that I'm experiencing right now. I miss Roy, I need Roy. Well, I'm Roy. So the deconstructivism of ideas and the deconstructivism of moral is crucial to live life, but it cannot be a stable state of mind and a normal living. Of course, you must understand that there is no such thing as morals and there is no such thing as values, and everything is subjective and everything is unreal and everything is basically doesn't exist. The deconstructivism of everything in your life is crucial to understand as a concept, but if you live it thoroughly and you will experience living as such, you'll either go nuts or just have no meaning, and then there's no reason for living. You will be an empty shell of existence. Understand the idea of the deconstructivism of any sort of ideology or value, but at the same time live at the moment in order for you to understand that life has more to offer than the empty shell of meaningless. Well, maybe this is my task for you, if I can even be allowed to give you tasks. Understand that life is deconstructed and there is no value that is real and nobody is right and nobody is wrong, but at the same time construct your own values so you can live life with some sort of meaning, some sort of virtue, some sort of action to be done, some sort of thought to be made, a reason to wake up in the morning, so to speak. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any more subjects you want me to cover, please write down in the comments below. Ask questions away. Please confront me and tell me I'm stupid in the comments below. I hope you enjoy my content. I'm actually going to switch a format very soon. If you have any suggestions on what you want the format to be, please write down below. Of course, I will keep talking about Das Spoke Zarathustra, but the kind of videos will be a bit different and the occasionality of uploading videos will be rarer. It will be once in every 2 weeks, once in every 3 weeks maybe. But of course, the content will be longer and higher quality. I hope you enjoyed these episodes and I hope you love my channel. If you do, please share, subscribe, comment, and like. Thank you guys for watching.